Hey friends, I woke up this morning and, as happens almost every day, as I'm doing my morning routine, morning physical routine, whatnot, I find myself going into, I find insights showing up. That's just the time that happens. And this morning in particular, I felt something in my system, and I had this moment where I thought to myself, "Oh, is it a full moon?" Because there was a kind of texture to the way my energy was feeling, and but I kind of knew. I was like, I don't think it's a full moon. I haven't been really like keeping track, but like I don't think that's where we are in that cycle. And so I pulled out it was already late, so I couldn't really like look out the window. So I pulled out my Star Walk app, my astronomy app, and looked at it. And it wasn't a full moon, but tonight's moon, will be a new moon. And noticing that gave me a moment to be able to perceive a distinction between how a full moon affects my energy and my psyche and a new moon, and the way that and it was this I feel like I might be generating some of this, because my mind is kind of like playing with it, but it also feels oddly on target and oddly accurate. So here goes. Both a full moon and a new moon seem to bring me to a slightly heightened place of perception. I'm seeing my life, I'm seeing my circumstances, I'm seeing myself from a slightly higher, just like somebody turned up the volume a little bit. It's like somebody turned up the volume on me for me. And that's in both cases, but in the case of a full moon, where my focus tends to go, it is towards the way that whatever I'm struggling with, working with, whatever my challenge is right now, how that's manifesting in the outer world. I will look at patterns in my career, my profession, my relationships, my financial circumstances, my relationship with my daughter, my wife, right? I'll look at things in the external world. What I noticed that sort of clarified for me this morning how new moon energy works is that there was kind of the same emotional texture, and I was looking at a lot of the same challenges, but I was looking at the internal manifestations, the interior, what might appear to be causes of those external things, although we kind of know everything is both cause and effect. But it was more so, it wasn't so much like, oh, that's the effect and now I'm seeing the cause. It's more like I'm just seeing two aspects of the same event, and but connecting that heightened emotional or heightened psychic volume with more interior oriented perception clarified for me, oh, that's what the new moon is about. It's a different thing. It's a different thing than the full moon. I sound like such a Santa Fan. Oh my God, I don't even live in Santa Fe anymore, but I sound like people who live in Santa Fe. I lived there long enough, I guess, for some of this to rub off. But I'm also not. I don't take it back. These perceptions are real. This is stuff it's you can approach this stuff like a science, in the sense that there is empirical verification or falsification of these experiences and these perceptions. You can be right and you can be wrong, in the same way that you can be right and wrong in science. So anyway, not to over justify my my desire to talk about this, that was a really interesting distinction, to feel the difference between the two. And I think, another thing that kind of showed up for me was like a permission to struggle. All of us, if we are a conscious being in manifestation, there's some kind of struggle, because on one level, one dimension of our of our being is in unity, consciousness. Consciousness is one. It can't ever not be. And yet our bodies and our minds and our psyche and even our soul is not in unity. It's in plurality. So there's an inherent tension in existing that's going to always involve some level of movement, some level of reaching for something, moving towards something, feeling drawn towards something, feeling repelled by something. That's I think that's I've never heard an enlightened master say that in their body and their mind they don't have that. You can kind of avoid it. You can go sit in a cave, I suppose, and minimize the degree to which the external world has relevance to your experience, and just live in unity as much as possible. But that's certainly not the path I've chosen, and it's not the path that most of the great spiritual teachers I know have chosen. So we can sort of become comfortable with struggle. We can allow that that's part of life. And then it's kind of cool to observe a mechanism that toggles us literally every 28 days from exterior to interior, to exterior to interior. And because like that, it again, I say I talk like a Santa Fe. This stuff is so far from the way that I used to see the world, or how I used to approach consciousness development. I would have thought this was nonsense a few years ago. But, I've gotten older. I've spent time just living with certain practices, and I've had a child, and I've had my sense of self softened and expanded in many ways. And when something like this mechanism comes online, like the way the moon affects my awareness, it feels like an opportunity. It feels like, oh, well, if I know that, maybe I can use that. Like maybe I can go through that cycle a little more consciously. No, almost like letting the aspects of it that are already kind of naturally occurring, aligning my intention with them, as opposed to kind of being oblivious and having them affect me and little by little and having an epiphany one day and going, wait a minute, I think I'm observing something. Like, that's where I am now, which is great. But like, what if I aligned my intention with those forces and brought a kind of, brought my own will into that stream, so that the work that is being done on me, I am also voluntarily standing up and doing, and getting in the mix, climbing on board the horse who's already sort of dragging me that direction. So that's where I am today, folks. A lot came through this morning. But thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. I will see you very soon.